Give me one
I
second. I'll let you take a second to collect your thoughts, and I'll say my little preface here. So, welcome, folks. Thank you for joining us for the latest edition of the Coaches Connect call. I'm Coach Jeremy, and we're joined by a group of awesome coaches for today. And to get us started, we are in the midst of our L2 program launch. So, if anyone here is watching, or you are currently hearing this call, and you're interested in level two, we have one of our most freshly minted grad, someone who has just completed the program. Uh, Anna, welcome. Thank you for being here. Maybe you can start today by letting us know a little bit of what your experience was like. I don't know if you've sat down and fully kind of thought it through yet, but we'd love to get your kind of unfiltered thoughts.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. I've shared a bit about it in a group, and I learned so much more than I um, thought I would, really about myself, about coaching, about the practice, about how the body works, about how we respond, and it explained a lot of things for me. So it was quite a journey, and the more I learned, the hungrier I got. And at some points, I just had to slow down and take some time to process. I had a lot of life interruptions happen. And so I was really grateful for the platform, the way that they set us up. What if this happens? What if that happens? Because it had me thinking, okay, what am I giving up? How am I going to reserve this time for this new part of my life? And that prepared me so well. And then the other things, I think, it was interesting for so many people. It was almost a return to grade school. Like, remember to put your name on the paper, look through, read
Mhm.
all the directions, get prepared, all that kind of thing. And, but a lot of us, we haven't been in school for a long time. So that's normal. And I loved that, there were different opportunities to hear different voices. The office hours were a lot like this, where we came with, different things we were processing in the course or things with clients. That was really very helpful. And the breakout sessions were amazing. I met so many fabulous people from around the world. So if you haven't, I think I think especially if somebody's already been coaching, um, there's so much more to it when you get with these people who, the team, the L2 leadership team, who has this extraordinary expertise, this breadth of expertise with various clients and people like us, the students too. So they've been running this a while, so they know what they're doing.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have a strong crew there between Dom, Jay, and Coach Tony. So hopefully you were able to take advantage of their experience and ask all the good questions there as well. You mentioned something where uh, you learned more than you had anticipated. I'm curious to know, what were you expecting going in, or what did you want out of the process when you were starting L2?
I mainly had in mind connecting some dots, creating structure,
Hmm.
having systems in place. And so that was my main, and then just connecting with community, those were my main interests. What I found was that there were literally life skills that I just hadn't visited, that hadn't been
Hmm.
introduced. And so there was that part. There was the learning about the neurological experience that we have when we're triggered or when we have, something startling happen. That was super interesting to me. And uh, and then the case studies were very interesting, particularly the last one where I chose my client and really learned to think on my feet, or learned what it's like to think on my feet, and also what it's like to give yourself grace and pause and know that you don't know it all, and just say, hey, by the way, last week I felt like, this was hard for you. Where do you want to go now? And being able to pivot and change direction, let it be much more client led than I think I ever have allowed in the past. Because I'm a problem solver. I'm a serial fixer. I don't love venting. If you've got a problem, tell me. I will fix it. I got it. And it's not helpful. As my partner would tell me, don't help.
I was
Be
just about to say
helpful.
my girlfriend would strongly agree with that sentiment there. Uh, the writing reflex. I believe actually in the latest edition of MI, they may have renamed the writing reflex. I don't know if we still teach it that way in L2. But yeah, it is strong and it is a hard thing to kind of learn when to deploy it and when to put that in your back pocket.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
which you mentioned kind of some life skills that you weren't aware of that you may have developed through here. I know that at least when I took the initial like L2 beta course way back in like 2014, 2015, one of the strong sentiments that I got after completing that course was I'm not only a better coach, but I feel like a more complete or a better human, which is like a crazy lofty thing to say for at that point it was a year-long course. Now it's like a 20-week course. Do you
Mhm.
still feel like it is appropriate to say that? Would you agree with that statement?
Absolutely. People noticed. People who knew what I was doing noticed. And I had one friend who said, "Ah, you're getting better. You're getting better at telling me what to do without telling me what to do."
Yeah,
And
I mean, it certainly feels like wizardry on some level.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, the other thing that you also mentioned was being in a position where you feel more comfortable allowing your clients to take the lead, which I think is something so underrated but incredibly valuable, where it feels like, yes, I have to have all the answers, I have to be able to provide all the solutions. And when you can kind of ride shotgun with your client and be like, I don't have to have my hands hovering above the wheel every second here to yank it away from you to avoid that collision. It's like, no, we could bump off some things. We can take detours. We can allow you to steer into unknown territory, and it's going to be okay. That was one of the things I took away from the course, and it sounds like you did as well.
I did. I realized I was doing a lot of unnecessary emotional labor, their emotional labor, and it was exhausting and it really wasn't sustainable. So not only do I have this skill set, but I also believe that I'll be able to serve a lot more people and a lot for a lot longer time. Even just coaching in Pilates or, personal training or whatever, 3 clients max. I cannot do more than 3 people's issues a day. And that was almost too much. That wasn't really sustainable for, that was 3 days a week maybe. And so
Right.
it helped me build stronger and more clear boundaries for myself and for them. I mean, I think as a kid, I just didn't like that sense of rules and structures. And luckily, my parents were mashed potatoes, so that was that was a match. But but I didn't thrive in that. And so I've noticed that in my life that when I do have more structure, I thrive. And so I wanted that for myself. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm glad to see that that is what you received and more.
Thank you.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Vicky, I saw you popped into the chat box and you mentioned that you finished in April, and I was like, April? I guess it's October. Yeah, it is. There's been some time that's passed there as well. So you would have been probably just the previous cohort before Anna. Uh, do you care to share your experience as well?
Yeah, I'm just nodding my head the whole time she's talking because that's me in a nutshell. I mean, I was a structural engineer for 30 years and I managed an office. So problem solving, um,
Mhm.
and also the thing she said about being, I'll call it being overinvested in my clients, carrying too much of their burden. Yeah, that's definitely something that I took away from L2. It's still something that's a daily work for me is to remind myself of that, to pause, think about that. Yeah, but you can only be as vested as your clients are. You can't take on their burdens, and yeah, I mean, 100%. And definitely, when I was going into it, it was I was being nudged by people in these calls. Vicky, do it. It's life changing, all that. So my expectations were pretty high, and 100%. I mean, definitely changed me as a coach. I think I'm a better person, better mother, better friend, all that because I've learned to listen better. Ask ask some questions to help instead of give direction. Yeah, yeah, it's a super valuable course. Highly recommend. And for me, 30 years as an engineer, the science of L1 came fairly easily.
Mhm.
But so this I knew was going to be harder for me because, a little, touchy feely, all that, but it's exactly what I needed. And it was at times uncomfortable and, which is great, to go out of our comfort zone. The breakout sessions that Anna mentioned, priceless. I mean, having the opportunity to talk, not just like in a group like this, but with 2 or 3 other coaches, and they're all starting out new, usually too, and get to practice, and just got so much valuable information. See how other people did it. See how I did it, right? Because it's you get to see yourself on screen. So yeah, just it's a great course, 100%.
Fantastic. You've both convinced me that at some point I need to jump back into the L2 pool, swim
Yes.
around in those waters for a little bit. Yeah, and I mean, it's changed dramatically since the last time I was there. So, uh, yeah, hopefully some folks here, if you're on the fence and considering it and you think you're in a place where your coaching practice would benefit from it, I think today actually might be the last day for L2 sign up. If you email our team, they may be able to sneak you in still. And then if not today, hopefully it's something you consider in the future as part of your progression as a coach. It is, I believe, still the best course that I've ever taken, and there have been quite a few in between there. Uh, cool. Thank you for Anna. You have some.
I did, and I don't see the raise hand thing for some reason. I don't know why. Um, I I was able to have a conversation with Brad Overstreet. So if somebody's in question and they really want someone right there, he might have, I don't know if you have his calendar, but he was very
Mhm,
helpful. I felt as though I hadn't finished. I had enrolled in PN1 and I didn't finish on time. That was a
mhm.
whole other several chapters of life that jumped in. And so I felt as though, maybe I'm not there yet. And now I'm so excited to finish PN1 because a lot of the skills I was missing, I picked up in PN2 to just gain that confidence and um, enjoy that material more, I think. I don't know.
Fantastic. And just for folks who are listening to this, if you're curious, what does on time for PN level one mean? I assume this is something where you kind of had your own expectation of how long it would take you to finish. Yeah, so just a reminder that there's no deadline to finish your PN level one. We typically say 3 to 5 months is not uncommon for most folks. Some people will be faster, some people will take a little bit more time. Again, depending on life what additional demands life has for you. So do not feel like you are behind. And hopefully, going through your L2 course, you found a way to kind of reconceptualize your journey through L1 and maybe start seeing things as more as just the process of behavior change. And the things that you want to do are uh, assisted by utilizing some of those skills that you picked up in L2.
Absolutely. I think I had a fixed mindset around because there was a live cohort,
Mhm.
and having missed that boat, I felt as though that's it. There's no energy in it. Like the mojo left for me in a way.
Right.
And I didn't need to have that belief, but I did. And so
Mhm.
that was something that I picked up at some point during the course. I thought, oh, I don't know exactly what my thought process was, but I had decided I'd missed the boat
Mhm.
at some level.
Well, I'm glad to see that you challenged that belief and you're looking to make progress again. And it sounds like you've really countered it with a lot of enthusiasm and you're ready to take on the challenges that L1 still provides. That is awesome. Uh, just for folks who are looking, I know Zoom changed things up as they are want to do every few months, every few years. So if you're looking for the button to raise your hand, it's in the bottom tray under React, and then you have to click on the up arrow, and then I think that's where it is. Actually, maybe I'm not even right. Well, maybe I'll raise my hand and see what's up. Uh, no, Vicky, where is that button? Oh, raise hand. There we go.
Yeah, I had my window shrunk to a size that it left out some of the bottom menu. That's why.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, don't worry. I fully empathize with that. Whenever I'm doing a live coaching session and recording things and sharing my screen, I'm like, oh God, buttons come back. So yeah, I'm glad we were able to solve that as a team. Awesome. Uh, I mentioned that I have a few discussions in the chat box, or sorry, not in the chat box, but in kind of like my back pocket. But before going to there, curious to know, anyone care to share what they're working on this week, or any challenges that you may be experiencing, any demos that we can help with, anything of that nature before we move on? Leah, what do you got? Or unless you're also just exploring where that button is.
Oh no, so I'm on my phone, so it's really easy to do it on their app.
Gotcha. What do you got?
Um, so last week I talked about getting ready for group coaching. Um, I haven't launched that yet, but tomorrow I'll be launching my first freebie, just to get an influx of emails so I can start
Mhm.
doing newsletters. Just kind of see where that takes me. And then I already have my outline for group coaching. And because it's at the time that it is, I'm going to call it navigating the holidays.
Mhm.
Um, in my experience with coaching so far, it's like everybody wants coaching until about like November-ish. And then,
Mhm.
like October, we're kind of in that shift right now. And then all of a sudden, it's like everybody's like, oh my gosh, I overindulged. I did all these things. Here comes January, I'm back on board. And then you get that influx, and then it starts to trickle down a couple months after. Um, so just doing like group coaching. So probably like my timeline is probably within like the next couple weeks, start launching that. Well, after this week. So about 2 more weeks, start launching that idea and seeing how many people I have. I'm not going to put a cap on it, like you said, just kind of see.
Mhm.
I think that's a good strategy for the first one. And just selling the points of what we do, with precision nutrition, of just, the mindfulness and all of the basics, really. That's what helps you get through the holidays. But I've had so many people that have that all or nothing mentality for my
Mhm.
clients. And it's really hard to teach balance. It takes time to teach the balance. I have one client, and that's all we've been working on for probably the last 6 months, is just her relationship with food and being okay with having that, because she was like, okay, I can't have sugar. I can only eat whole foods, and that's it. And I'm like, okay, but is that sustainable? Like, you have kids, there's birthdays, and you're doing all of these things. Um, and she's getting much better at it. It just takes time. Um, so my idea was just to do like navigating the holidays, starting that with group coaching, um, just because of the season that we're in right now. And then also the other thing I've been doing is being more consistent in my posting on Instagram, social media. I've been using that third party buffer system. So that way I can
Mhm.
put things in, and then utilizing AI on when the best times, which has actually been really helpful because the algorithm, always changes. So it's
Mhm.
nice to have the AI to help me do the research that would take me a lot of my time, because I also homeschool my 4 kids. So it's like trying to balance all of that. Um, so being able to utilize AI to help me with, when's the best time to launch? And it was just like, really Friday is the best time, and then Saturdays, and then Sundays. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to be doing an email. When's the best time to do emails? It's like really Tuesdays. And because I've talked to AI so much, it um, has like my personality and knows what it is. And so, it was like making jokes about like, who wants to open emails on Monday? Everybody's starting their work week off. Nobody wants to open another email. So I was like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, that makes sense. So just utilizing AI has just been really helpful. And it's as scary as things have been, because I don't have all of the knowledge of the business side. I know very basic things. Um, but then just having that assistant has just been really helpful. And I've been learning a lot just in, like I said, the algorithms, how to post, what to do. When I get stuck, it'll help me generate things. So it's just really helpful. So I'm really excited, starting launching tomorrow and then group coaching, hopefully in a couple weeks.
Amazing. Thank you for that update.
Yeah.
For folks who potentially weren't here for Leah's previous update last week and some weeks prior to that, the tool Buffer is what you use to schedule your content to post across your various social
Yeah.
platforms, correct? Cool.
Yes.
And then one other thing that you mentioned, so kind of the seasonality of coaching. And it's something that it's an idea that's been rolling around in my head for a while, but I don't know if I had the words for it. And I think you kind of helped unlock it there. So it's like everyone wants coaching. It's like strong agree by and large. Most people are receptive to coaching at different points in time. So we just passed, or we're currently at the tail end of one of those points in time. Back to school for a lot of families is that kind of reset point after the supposed indulgence of summer. So you'll go kind of like first week of September till the end of September, early October, you may experience kind of like a little bit of uptick in engagement from your folks or from people reaching out. And then as we get into kind of Halloween, November, Thanksgiving in Canada, it even starts even earlier because our Thanksgiving is in October.
Yeah.
You'll see that there are time periods where people find it more difficult to engage in coaching, or maybe you'll notice that there's a downtrend in terms of how many people are reaching out to you and stuff like that. I think that's one of the most confusing paradoxes as a coach, in that during those time periods where people would mostly benefit from having your support is when people tend to shy away from support. So then it begs the questions like, what do people actually want when they're signing up for your services? I think the answer may be that they want largely affirmation that they're doing things correctly. And if you've gone through this, speaking to our L2 coaches here, or if you've been on the receiving end of coaching that affirms that you're on the right path, it can be incredibly powerful. And especially when folks are like, well, I expect to show up at this session and my coach is going to walt me because I didn't do X, I didn't do Y, I did like a little bit of Z, and that's all I did. And then as a coach, you have an opportunity to be like, shame on you. We got to go harder. Let's really dial up the tough love. That is a coaching approach that some people take. And in some situations, it actually may be appropriate. Like I can think of a situation where it may work is like, oh, if you work in a kind of athletic setting where performance is kind of the be all and end all, where maybe it's someone's contract is on the line and like their ability to feed their family, or it's just like a really macho environment, and that's kind of the cultural norm there. It may make sense to utilize that approach, but if you're a coach who isn't in that environment and you utilize that sentiment of client didn't do X, Y, and Z, well, we just got to go harder. We got to restrict more. We got to put up more structure. And that's how I think they'll thrive. You might actually find the opposite. So they're actually looking for affirmation of, I did as much as I could. And they're not even willing to share that kind of thought process with themselves, because the idea of this should be pleasurable or I should be proud of my efforts, even if they didn't lead directly to the outcome I wanted, is something that most people do not connect with the coaching experience. So all that is to say, we expect that there's windows of opportunity to connect with potential clients. And during those times, it's like, great, coaching is fantastic because I'm able to do all the things that I expect of myself, or maybe that my coach laid out for me. And then as a coach, it's like, were you really that valuable there? It's like maybe I held the door open for people and they just kind of like flocked in. When does coaching become incredibly valuable? When a person doesn't believe that they are able to take action or is not able to see the actions that they're taking and the value that they provide. That's when your value as a coach actually skyrockets. But getting people to sit down in front of you may be challenging. And the only way that I've found to cross that bridge is to be a coach who withholds judgment, who treats clients with unconditional positive regard, who makes it appealing to want to show up. Like if you step on the scale and it's like, oh, it didn't go the direction that you wanted it to, the first thought shouldn't be like, oh my God, my coach is going to be so mad at me. That feeling may be, it's like, oh, I'm mad at myself. but it is my goal to then redirect that energy from that client into something more useful, and also paint a more realistic picture for them that also includes, hey, what were the challenges that you faced this week? What was particularly hard for you to do this week? What were you able to do despite those challenges? Cool. Let's take that into account as well and then move forward. So, Leah, that is something that's been rumbling around in my head for so long. And I appreciate you sharing kind of like that timing aspect of when people are receptive to coaching, but then also remembering that when people are actually kind of at their most pressed, that's when we actually become more useful. And hopefully it's a message that you share with your folks as they're getting into that kind of November stretch where it's common for them to feel down on themselves, to want to pull away from the coaching experience. And I think calling it out early could be something that would be quite useful for the group that you're coaching.
Well, and sometimes I feel like it's the expectations they have on themselves. And then it's also, they're not used to coaching like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot of, like in my one client that I've been just working on the like very, very basics for 6 months. Like she's come a long way, huge, like, you know, and I talked to her about all the things that she's done. And because she'll come and she'll just be like, I didn't do this, I didn't do this, I didn't do this. And I was like, okay, but did I tell you you had to do that? And it was just like this relief. And so now it's like she's becoming more receptive and she's making those small changes and she's just been leaps and bounds because there's just this pressure, I think, on self and then also social, right? Where she's not in a good environment of support. And I love this so much though, because it's her husband and he's just like, okay, does your nutrition coach know that you're eating that? And when she first started, she was really ashamed. And now she goes, yes, I do. I talk to Leah about it all the time. And I'm like, yes, like, because it's just,
Excellent.
there's all of this. And I feel like the other thing I wanted to share really fast too, that I was thinking about,
Please.
Was we were talking about this last week and I kind of was like meditating on it throughout this week and just really thinking about it, was when we talk about sharing things on Instagram or sharing the same information all the time and how that kind of seems wearing. I was in the middle of cleaning and I thought, it's like, you know, I understand where that thought comes from, but when we continue to share these things more and more, that now becomes the normal. And it helps push away all of that garbage that we see that's shared on social media, because we're standing up and we're sharing more and more of what nutrition really is, and how we can make those changes. And so I think it's really important just to keep being the soundboards of that, and then just having it heard in all of our voices. Because now, like even my client, she's now finding more and more social media outlets that are now sharing the same, you know, visions that we have and the same foundations. And so it's helping her too throughout everything of knowing, sorry, my neighbor's mowing the lawn.
All good.
Knowing,
Still can hear you perfectly
just,
fine.
okay, perfect. But just knowing that this is normal and it's okay to have that balance. So I think it's really important.
That is fantastic. Yeah. Uh, in at PN, we often refer to ourselves as an island of sanity in an island of sanity in a sea of nonsense. So if people are sharing more of this type of coaching or this kind of information, hopefully we become a little island chain or a little archipelago, and people find us more easily and more accessibly. So uh, that is something that I'm glad to hear that that's a realization that you had while you were cleaning as well. Where I thought your brain was going to go with that one was, it's like, yeah, I don't just share this message once and then never go do it again. Just like I don't clean my home once and then never do it again. I don't remodel my home every time it gets a little dirty. I just do the same things that have kept it clean, which is actually kind of in line with also where I was going to go for one of my back of pocket discussions for today was, I think I first noticed this in L2. And I'm not even sure if it was based on a lesson or a habit that we were working on. But one thing that I find that flipped when I went from kind of like personal trainer to more of coach at was being able to see coaching lessons in more kind of like desperate areas of life. So like you're watching a movie and you're like, ah, that was good coaching there. That person did the thing. Some of them are more easily accessible. Like I mention this every other call, but if you've watched Ted Lasso, excellent coaching demonstration there. But there are sometimes like other areas where I might find something related to coaching. My favorite one is a scene in the original Jurassic Park where he's talking about chaos theory, uh, and he mentions the word fractal, which I believe is just like repeating sequences of shapes from like a geometric standpoint. And if you look at a microscope and you look at sand under a microscope, it is a very, very tiny component, but it resembles a mountain under the microscopic kind of lens. And if you think of a day in your life, every day or every kind of unit of time is quite small. But when you stack them all up, that's the entirety of your life. And I was like, wow, this is my brain on L2 is a different beast. I was curious to know if coaches here have any analogies or any places in your life where you seek or are starting to see kind of coaching connections, things that you would share with clients that maybe are not from kind of like motivational interviewing chapter 5. It's a weird one, so I'll leave you that for a second. I'm just gonna dip into the chat box real quick here. I see, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Feel free to jump on video if you can, but I believe it is LA. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But I'm just gonna read your comment real quick and then hopefully have an answer for you. Uh, so to answer your question, it looks like you're looking for a client management software. Of course, obligatory pro coach endorsement here. I've been using it for a long time, pretty much since day one. There are probably other pro coach users here. I can't speak to practice better or healthy because I have not personally used them. But if there are other coaches here who have used those in their practice, feel free to share what you like or what you don't like about them. At the end of the day, we want you to utilize the software that makes the most sense for your business approach. Lots of good feedback from our conversation here. That Leah stoked, but yeah, someone commenting on, does your coach know you're eating that? Uh, that would likely elicit a response from me of, I'm happy to speak with your person if that's helpful for you. You don't need me to write you a note, but I'm also very glad to see, Leah, that your person was able to retort back and be like, she knows about it, she encouraged it. Amazing. Sachin, yes, there is a recording for this call. I did hit record, thankfully this time. I will have it posted by Friday, if not Monday.
Does that go in the
Uh,
larger Facebook group, Jeremy, or where does that recording go?
the recordings, I normally try and put up a post to say, hey, here's a link to the recording. But if you actually go to our YouTube page, there's a playlist for Coaches Connect calls, and all of them should be in there.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yep. Ile, if you were to post that question in the PN coaches community, let me double check to find the name. We have named everything incredibly close together. PN coaches community is correct. I'll grab you the link for it actually. If you post your question there, similar questions pop up quite regularly. You're likely to get a larger response from people who have used those other platforms, and they can maybe give you a contrasting view. between Pro Coach or some of the other ones. Uh, Personally, I think Pro Coach is the strongest starting platform for any PN certified coach. If you've gone through our certification, you've gone through the sections that have kind of the 6-step coaching process. We've taken that coaching process and built software around it. So no other coaching software will have that built in as a concept. So I would say start there. If you run into tension points or pain points where it doesn't meet specific needs, then you can look at other software and ask the question, hey, does this software do specifically that? I think like a one-to-one comparison between software without any specific requirements is probably not going to be super useful for you to start with, because all of them are going to have like particular things that they might do a little bit better. Some will have features that aren't found anywhere else, but I don't know of all the specific features of every other software. So our uh, 50,000 group of coaches will likely be able to give you a little bit more insight there. Sachin, I think you might be uh, looking for our, so this is the PN Coaches Connect call. This is just open to anyone, doesn't matter where you are in your PN studies or if you're certified. What you'll be looking for is probably the live calls for the expert guided PN coaching. And you'll be able to find that when you log into your PN account. It will say community events. You should be looking for kind of L1 expert guided. Click on that link and you'll see all the live calls there. So should you be done Unit 1 this week? Yes. Go finish Unit 1. You know what? Go finish Unit 2 as well, because I believe in you. But I don't know what I'm sorry, I don't know the schedule for your course. You'll likely also have a Facebook community or some sort of community for that cohort. Uh, Anna, can I ask you here, because it sounds like you've done L1 Expert Guided before. Did you have a Facebook community for all the folks who were enrolled in the same cohort as you?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so I expect that you should be able to access that again from your PN dashboard page. And Coach Sarah and the other members of your support team will likely be able to help you there. Yeah, but you're also welcome to hang out here and ask any questions, and I'll point you in the direction that we need to accordingly. Folks who are here, I gave you a few extra minutes there as we were kind of going through some detour discussions. Curious to know if there's anything that pops up for you, any elements of your life that inspire deeper coaching conversations or coaching connections for you. Part of also the reason why I asked this one is Leo's mentioning kind of posting on social media as well. I find that these types of posts do really well when we're able to draw in concepts that are not so coaching specific, and they help to kind of tell a narrative. So, especially when they reveal something about you, like I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan slash dinosaur nerd. Not as much as when I was 5, but 5-year-old me definitely had more names memorized. But being able to bring your personality to the forefront, uh, I was like Leah's response right there, like hobbits love potatoes. That is deep Lord of the Rings knowledge there, especially Samwise Gamgee knowledge. So being able to find those connections and then bring them into your coaching conversations, the messaging that you share online, that's something that I would encourage you to find as well, where you note, oh, that is a well managed conversation, or if you start to notice elements that relate to coaching, but you also find in different spaces as well. Anna mentioned uh, how gaining skills in L2 help them to kind of navigate certain interpersonal problems and see unique solutions there as well. One of the things I found was, yeah, it definitely it made me better able and adapted to handle some connections with like my partner and being able to navigate those things as well. Starting to see that, oh, we're on the same team when we're having a discussion here. We both want to get to the same outcome, similarly to what I experience when I'm speaking with a client. Vicky.
Yeah, so this is sort of a, I don't know, just a conversation in my head that I've been having because you're talking about social media, and I'm a podcast queen. Like we talk about the rabbit holes. I mean, I just like I ride my bike. I love to listen to podcasts. I listen to lots of different ones, but I've heard references a couple of times lately that um, have sat with me because I'm a new coach, so there's definitely some imposter syndrome always. So there's like how to respond to your clients and also to yourself when you hear, and I'm not knocking registered dietitians whatsoever, but I'll hear on podcasts like, oh, and you don't want to go to a nutritionist. You need a registered dietitian for XYZ. And I'm certainly there are instances when you need a registered dietitian, and I have one in my repertoire that I can refer to when I think it's appropriate. But how do you calm that voice to yourself and to others, just to differentiate between, like one of the podcasts said, because nutritionists don't have education, and that's not true. We all have some sort of education, and so many rabbit holes that I go down. I feel like for my clients that I try to stay as educated as possible. But just like, how do you calm that voice in your own head, and how do you respond to it when you hear it from others? I guess, does that make sense?
Yep, interesting. And I mean, I think there's probably a broader skill set at play here that we can draw in as well. But coaches who are here, uh, I'm curious to know two things. One, when you hear that sentiment, or when you hear that statement, what kind of sentiment or what kind of emotion or what kind of thought pattern does it set off within you personally? And then potentially, how would you respond to it yourself? Lee, I'm not sure if I saw a hand up there, but if so, feel free to unmute.
Well, it was both. There was mosquitoes, and then I
Oh,
also had a thought as well. I know. I didn't turn my mosquito
gotcha.
things on. We've been having a lot of rain lately. Um, anyways, so I mean, that one's always hard just because um I feel like it's hard to not take things personal sometimes, especially when you work really hard and you do a really, really good job. So that is difficult. But I think something too that really helps me is, I mean, I've had nobody ever tell me that directly, so I can only imagine what it would feel like. Um, but even what I tell other people just having conversations is sometimes you do need a registered dietitian. I'm not going to be able to do certain specific things, but that's when I always offer to work with that dietitian as well, because I let them know, like, they're just going to give you what to do. I'm going to help you get to that goal. So I've had conversations. I actually have a friend who I'll be working with here probably not until beginning of next year, just because of mobility for her. She's just in a position that she can't really work with me at the moment. So, but the beginning of the year, because she has diabetes, she's working with a registered dietitian, and she wants to have my services as well because she wants to understand how to get there and the whys. And with her dietitian, they're just like, here's what you need to be eating, here you go. So I think it's just good to know too that we can be there to guide, but then also, like, it's just hard sometimes because we can be there to guide, but then we also have to have that fine line of what we're doing and staying within scope and what that looks like. And there's a lot of times that I'll have my clients, I'll tell them, you know what, I can't tell you what you can eat. And then that's when I encourage them to do the research themselves and be like, okay, I have Crohn's disease. This is what I can do. And I'll be like, great, this is what we can work on. So then that way it puts it in their court. And I actually have some clients that are already like that, which is helpful. So then they don't have to have a dietitian. But there are times for a dietitian as well. But that's just how I've been handling those situations. But also I haven't heard it ever directed towards me or anybody actually attacking me and my knowledge. I don't know, Vicky, if you had that personally, or if it's just from hearing podcasts and like listening to that and anticipating if that would happen. I also love listening to podcasts a lot as well. So I don't know if like it was something directly towards you or just listening to it and in that anticipation.
So I loved your response, but especially the thing about taking it personally, because yes, these were not directed at me whatsoever. They're
Okay,
just
good.
they're just podcasts in my realm, right? In my
Okay.
niche. You know, they're cycling, and nutrition for cycling, that kind of thing. But the other thing is, it's probably more for me the voice in my head, because we've already established that I'm an engineer and I come back from a lot of schooling and this, so I'm constantly down the rabbit holes. And at one point my own coach said, you need to quit learning and start doing. 100%, you need to quit learning, start doing, start coaching. But yeah, just to say, well, yeah, I don't need to know everything to be a good coach. Know all this, and I'm telling myself all this. Sorry, I got a doggy. Always got the doggy.
Mine's sleeping.
I
He
banished
was.
mine.
He was until mommy started talking, and then that screwed that up. But yeah, so a couple of good things you talked about how to get there and why, and again, clients too, but also reminding myself of that. It brings up another topic too that I'm sure many coaches have dealt with, is like when your clients have other practitioners that they're working with, and you don't always agree with the practitioner. That's always something I struggle with too. I have a client who's working with a chiropractor, chiropractor naturopath, and I've had conversations with other coaches about this, but to balance her hormones. And just the word balancing your hormones, and a chiropractor doing endocrinology, it's just like there's so many flags there. But having to be able to step back and say, okay, I'm going to support you, in this direction, even though I don't always agree with the direction. So yeah, it's hard. That was your thing. It's hard. It is hard.
I'll take that second one. But before we go into that part of the discussion, I saw Anna had her hand up. Anna, was there something that you wanted to add, specifically when if someone is commenting that essentially you should refer to a kind of pulling rank, refer to a higher level credentialed professional?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to, I had some injuries, so I had hundreds of physical therapy appointments. And I can't tell you how many times the therapist would walk up and say to the person, did you do the exercises? And we're all in very small quarters, like there's no private conversations happening. And 99% of people, I bet they would say they're accountable, but 99% of them, no, well, no. And I'll never forget the day that the guy who worked with me, and I was always in there for an hour afterward. I'm like, can I use that now? Are you using that? Like using all their equipment? This is my free gym, and you're going to tell me if I do something stupid. And he told this woman, she said, I hadn't, she hadn't done the exercises the week before, or the week before, or the week before. And he had coached her to do it, but she couldn't bridge that gap. And that's why they need people like us, like you, Leah, like what you're talking about. And at some point, he looked her right in the eye and he said, I'm so sorry. I can't help you. And he took all the ownership off of her. And I about broke down in tears. I'm like, he was the most brilliant practitioner I'd ever worked with. I was like, yes, you can. And, but I realized he really couldn't, because she couldn't get there. She didn't have the skills. She didn't understand how to change her behavior and fit in that one more thing. And that's what we do. So it is critical, and it's totally great that there's another person up there. Um, their job security for us, I feel like they're hugely.
That is, a useful reminder of where do we shine that other professionals will either not have the skill set or have the capacity to do what we do. And I mean, that's where we fit into so many roles, kind of in between patient and primary care physician, between patient and physiotherapist, between patient and dietitian. All of these roles kind of like make sense there. Uh, Before I share some thoughts, Kathy, what do you got? I assume Kathy is looking for the mute button.
Yeah, it vanishes if you have your things hidden unless your cursor is over the window. Maybe that helps.
Okay, geez, it took a minute. Sorry. Now let me cut my camera on here too. Oh, hey. So I wanted to share my thoughts on the imposter syndrome and feeling like you're not knowledgeable enough or whatever, or question whether you know what you need because you're not that dietitian or whatever. I think we all go through it. And is my approach is knowing my role as a coach and having those resources when needed. Prime example is my son is a family medical physician, and we have a collaboration where he has patients that are in a weight loss program that he offers. He does the medical side of it, and he sends them to me to do the mental side of it, the change approach, because his thing is, I don't have time, and I really don't have the full knowledge and capacity to sit down with somebody to talk about change, because that's actually, they don't teach them that in medical school. And the other key thing on medical doctors, you think about it when you're saying, I forgot who was saying that she loves to learn. I'm one of those people too. I can put myself in a class every other day, and it's like, okay, you need practical work there and experience. So cut out the learning and practice. And when you need to know something, you look it up. So that's how you can do that. But it's the same thing with doctors. They don't know everything. There's no way they can sit there and tell you that you got an ailment and they can tell you the solution 100%. I guarantee sometimes they have to go back to their books or call a colleague that specializes in that area to get more details about it, or refer you. Some doctors refer you to a specialist because that's not what they're privy of or knowledgeable about. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Just wanted to share that.
Awesome. Thank you, Kathy.
Mhm.
And I mean, yeah, I think we all echoed kind of like similar sentiments there. And I'll go back to Leah's response first in terms of initially, like, I think this is a useful framework whenever any idea that we share or put forward is challenged. So in this instance, like the idea that was challenging or being put forward here was that nutrition coach is not adequate here. You need a dietitian. So starting by understanding it's like they're not saying me in particular and removing kind of that personal element from it. Then from there, it's getting kind of a little bit more critical and curious and asking the questions like, okay, like where do we have common ground here? Where do I actually believe kind of the scenario that they're putting forward? There are certainly times where it is correct. Like, yeah, I am not the professional. A nutrition coach should not be the professional you turn to. So is this requiring diagnostic care? Does this require any medical intervention? If there are things where it's like, yeah, there's elements here that are out of my scope, of course, I would also encourage you to go to a dietitian here. So finding where is there potentially truth to the statement, even if you go like a little bit beyond, like into a little bit of an absurdist take, like where could I possibly see that they are right here? This automatically takes the threat level down. I don't have to defend it. I actually start by accepting the the sentiment that they're sharing. It's like, cool, yeah, I can see where you potentially would be right. And then we start to work from there. It's like outside of those very specific scenarios, where does a nutrition coach actually shine in understanding our strengths? As Anna mentioned, as Kathy mentioned here, where are the times where a nutrition coach makes absolute sense here? And I don't need to defend my own worth here because I know like I do these things quite regularly. Uh, Certain professionals will, yeah, they have that diagnostic approach. They have the medical knowledge. They have specific like biochem knowledge that they have studied in depth. They just don't have the capacity to speak with someone as regularly as we do. They don't have the ability to support them through the behavior change process. That is just something that is, if it's in their training, it typically is not a cornerstone of how they practice. As Anna mentioned, their job is to triage and then move to the next patient. Understand like what is the issue, what is the plan, give that to the person, and then send them on their way. The ability for that person to execute that plan is kind of left up to fate or that person who may or may not have the skills to do that. That's where we come in. That's where our expertise and training is incredibly valuable. And knowing that means like I don't have to defend what I know or what I don't know. I just have to be able to do my job and do it well. And if I can do that, then it's like, cool, refer to all the specialists. I'll be here when the person actually needs to put the plan and put kind of like rubber to the road. So hopefully that is helpful there. The other thing that you mentioned, and before we close out for today, is like what happens when there's another professional at play and they're also on the support team and I don't agree with their approach. Largely as a professional, I'm going to say personally, I try and take a step back and say like, what is my client think of this? You as the patient, the client, what are your thoughts towards this? If they're like, yeah, I believe that them putting needles in my eyeballs, that's really going to help me with my cravings. Like, cool, great. Uh, they're the one who's liable for this. You believe that it will be helpful, unlikely to interfere with anything that we're doing. God bless. Keep doing what you're doing. Uh, if they're like, yeah, I don't think this is going to be useful. It's costly for me. It's annoying for me. I don't think they're listening to me. Then my job is to ask them to kind of explore those things and potentially validate and be like, based on what I know of this, it's like, yeah, it could be helpful. It could be harmful. Here is some research that you can utilize, take it to your person, and then ask them to further explain it until it makes sense, until you're happy to get those needles in your eyeballs. And then if they're unable to do so, that's on that professional. I never said to stop going to them. I just asked, or I just gave you a framework in which you can use to get greater clarification from them. Because if they can't clarify what they're doing, then maybe they're not a great source for you. Remembering that so much of the work that we do, especially in kind of like in rehab fields and exercise fields, in behavior change fields, belief is such a critical component of that change process. If you're going to a rehab specialist, especially if you have like chronic pain and you're like, I don't see how this is supposed to address anything, I don't actually have strong belief in your ability to help me, it's going to be really hard for them to make those changes. And you or them voicing an opportunity for you to kind of further explain what it is they do, you are now giving that professional another opportunity to bring that client slash patient alongside with them. If the patient leaves that session, they're like, oh, now I get it. Great. We've all done our job a little bit better. You have helped that other professional. You didn't say don't go. You didn't say I don't trust it either. It's just, okay, let's get clarification on this. And then if they get to a point where they're like, I don't want to do that thing anymore, they're an adult and they get to make that choice. Hopefully that's helpful, Vicky. Yeah, sometimes the win is like, hey, I'm glad to see that you're seeking care, which is again something we get to highlight as behavior change coaches. Cool. Let's leave it here for today, folks. We're a little bit over time, but again, I appreciate the discussion. We'll hopefully have this up for by the end of the week, and then I think Coach Kate is tagging in for next week. So I'll see you in a little bit. Take care.